The long-awaited Andor Season 2 trailer is finally here, and it's packed with action, surprises, and major connections to the original trilogy.
You wanna fight?
Of all the new Star Wars shows on the horizon, this is the one fans have been waiting for the most.
What a swell party this is.
Ever since Season 1 dropped in 2022, word-of-mouth praise has only grown, raising both anticipation and expectations to an all-time high. So, did the trailer deliver?
You're right here, and you're ready to fight!
Before we jump in, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on today's video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to catch more Star Wars content, then you're in the right place. Now, with all that out of the way, let's break down everything you missed in the Andor Season 2 trailer.
We're in a war. You wanna fight? Or you wanna win?
Now, before we dive into the details, let's first discuss how Season 2 is going to be structured, because it's wildly different to any other Star Wars show. Season 1 started in 5 BBY, 5 years before A New Hope, following Cassian's journey from petty criminal to fugitive, then reluctant rebel, before finally committing to the cause by the finale. That season played out over the span of a year in universe. Season 2 picks up right where it left off in 4 BBY. But will cover 4 years leading directly into Rogue One, which of course runs straight into A New Hope. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of a traditional weekly release, this one's split into 4 arcs, each one covering a year in universe across 3 episodes. And rather than dropping 1 episode per week, they're releasing them 3-week chunks, meaning the entire season will be out in just 4 weeks. That's a lot of Andor in a short amount of time, but it also means we're getting movie length drops every single week. Maybe even a little bit longer if Season 1's runtimes are anything to go by, but let's get into breaking down the Andor Season 2 trailer. Alright, so we open with Cassian walking through a structure carrying what looks like a bomb, and in the very next shot an explosion. Stormtroopers and plainclothes figures are scattered on the ground. But are they all Imperials, or could there actually be some civilians caught in the blast as well? We then get a quick montage of Cassian and Biggs navigating different locations, putting off some slick rebel spy work, but the real standout moment comes as Cassian's seen walking on Yavin 4, the legendary rebel base from Rogue One and A New Hope. Seeing him here suggests he's more embedded into the cause now than ever, but what's his mission? From there we cut to one of the biggest talking points of the trailer, this mysterious wheat-covered planet. We see someone sprinting through the fields, and I actually think it's Wilman, the young guy who built the bomb in Andor Season 1's finale and threw it at the Empire during the Rix Road riots. If you remember, he escaped with Brasso, Bix and B2, with Cassian telling them to head for Ganji Moon. Some fans think this planet might be Dantooine or Lothal. Now, Dantooine would be the former rebel base before they moved to Yavin 4. But if this scene takes place immediately after Season 1, then this could actually be on Ganji Moon, meaning the Empire found them, and they found them fast. The question is, was this just bad luck, or was someone actively tracking them? Then we see Cassian flying a ship we've never seen before, what looks like a modified TIE Interceptor or something similar. He's still on the wheat planet blasting away an Imperial transport, which suggests this isn't just a simple escape, it's a full-scale engagement. So is Cassian trying to rescue someone, or is this his way of buying time for his friends to escape? And what exactly is this new ship he's piloting? Let me know what you think in the comments, because this design is definitely something I'm not too familiar with.
Now.
What a swell party this is.
Now, this next part is not only visually stunning, but also a perfect way to show how close we are to Rogue One. We saw Saul Guerrero, and this time he looks much closer to his Rogue One version of himself, scarred, exhausted, and relying on his respirator. And judging by the background, this looks like Jeddah, the very place where he meets his end in the movie. But here's where it gets interesting, Saul's injuries. Now, we know he sustains much of them over the timeline of this second season. So what if we actually get to see how he ends up like this? Could this season reveal the mission that ultimately breaks him? Some of it's been explained in other media, but not all of it. Anyways, speaking of grand visuals, we cut to Mon Mothma attending what looks to be a lavish celebration. Now, at first glance, this scene could be mistaken for a painting. And that's not just a cool aesthetic choice, it's symbolic. It instantly reminds me of religious artwork, like The Last Supper, for instance. And that's fitting because this moment could mark a turning point for both Mon Mothma and the Rebel Alliance. So what's actually happening here? Well, my guess is related to her daughter Leader's arranged Chandrilan marriage. Now, if you remember, part of Mon Mothma's deal with the corrupt banker Davos was that she would introduce her daughter to his son, all in a weird roundabout way, so they can get married and she can continue funding the Rebel Alliance. And this moment might be when that deal becomes reality, and if that's the case, the painting-like visuals aren't just for style, they could symbolise the spiritual death of Mon Mothma, forced to sacrifice her family for the cause. Or this scene could mean something even darker, where it's not about Leader at all, but in fact it's the moment Mon Mothma realises the Empire has caught on to what she's been doing. Then we cut to Cassian and Bix walking away as an explosion detonates behind them. The last time we saw Bix, she was completely broken after the ISB tortured her for Cassian's whereabouts, but now she's back in action, seemingly working directly with the rebellion. And that makes me think, what about the rest of Cassian's friends from Ferrix, Brasso, Wilmon and B2? All of them were caught up in Marva's final speech that sparked the Rix Road riots. Did that moment turn them from survivors into full-on rebels as well? And I just have to say, I hope they use the Marva recording that's stored in B2 to psych up any rebels before they're deployed on a mission. That would just be so ace. And then we get one of the biggest reveals. Ben Mendelsohn's director Krennic is back. It makes perfect sense since we're bridging the gap to Rogue One, but more importantly, he's in charge of overseeing the Death Star's construction. And in this next shot, we see the Death Star itself almost fully built at this point, except for one final missing piece it seems. In Rogue One, we see Tarkin watching as the super laser dish is installed, but here, everything else looks complete, meaning this shot must take place right before that final moment in the movie. And then there's Krennic's line, "What a swell party this is." Sounds like a sarcastic little quip if you ask me, and if I had to guess, it's likely taken from the same party scene we see Mon Mothma in, because we know he's present there as well. So what's Krennic doing at this event? Is he already aware of Mon Mothma's secret dealings, or is he still playing politics? Either way, this means two big power players from either side of the conflict are now in the same room, and that could spell disaster for Mon Mothma and the early Rebel Alliance.
Remember this moment. You're here, you're right here, and you're ready to fight.
We then get another look at the wheat-covered planet, possibly, as I said, Ganji Moon, where we see Brasso being restrained by stormtroopers. If the Empire's already grabbing him, it means they're closing in on his group pretty fast, and considering what we saw looks to be Wilmon on the run earlier, this feels like a direct continuation of that moment. Now, if Wilmon is their target, did Brasso step in to save him, or was this the Empire's plan all along, to draw Cassian out? And then we get a glimpse of what could be a brand new type of trooper, no helmets, at least not in this moment, which makes a lot of sense for Andor. Season 1 really focused on the people behind the Empire, their personal ambitions, their weaknesses, and seeing stormtroopers without their masks strips away the facelessness, making them feel more like individuals rather than just cannon fodder. It's also in direct contrast to what George Lucas originally designed the Empire to be like, where he kind of wanted them as faceless cannon fodder, so people wouldn't worry too much when they died. But Andor really does flip that. It's showing us the real cost of war for both sides of the conflict. And speaking of returning characters, we finally see K2SO again. Cassian's reprogrammed security droid from Rogue One was absent in Season 1 because, well, the two hadn't met yet. But we're finally going to see how their story begins. Now, this is where I think something big happens, and I've been saying it since Season 1 all them years ago, that B2 EMO is in serious danger, and after watching this trailer, I think that might just confirm it. B2 doesn't appear in the footage at all. And I think that's because he either doesn't survive this season or is permanently damaged, probably early on. But here's my theory, what if B2's memory chip, the very thing that makes him and droids unique, gets transferred into an Imperial security droid? Think about it. Droids in Star Wars have distinct personalities, shaped by their experiences and their memories. And if B2 is destroyed but his core programming somehow survives, it could be transplanted into a K2 droid, meaning Cassian isn't really gaining a new companion after all. It means that he's been with K2 all along, just in a new body. That would also add so much weight to K2's sacrifice in Rogue One, because Cassian wouldn't just be losing a droid, he's losing a piece of his past, a friend who's been with him since his early days on Ferrix. But then the trailer closes with a barrage of action-packed shots. Chases, fights, explosions, all setting the stage for Andor's final, most intense chapter yet. Now, aside from B2 EMO, there's another major absence in this trailer, and it's a big one: Andy Serkis's Kino Loy.
They fried
100 men.
Easily one of the most beloved characters from season 1, his story left us with a huge question mark at the end of the season. Back in the prison arc on Kino 5, Kino was a key leader in the inmates' rebellion against the Empire. The facility was using prisoners as forced labour to construct Death Star components, a project so expensive that even Tarkin questioned its funding, instead wanting resources diverted from other secret projects like Project Necromancer. But when the prisoners realised they were never getting out, they had one option left: fight or die. Cassian and the other inmates made their escape, but Kino, he never did. With the prison surrounded by water and Kino being unable to swim,
Can't swim!
he was left behind, his fate unknown. But here's the thing, Andy Serkis has already confirmed in interviews that he will be returning for Andor Season 2, yet he's not in the trailer anywhere, so that means one of two things. Either his role is being kept under wraps for a major surprise reveal, or his return is tied to something bigger, more than just reuniting with Cassian. And that's where the speculation comes in. What if the rebellion rescues him? Kino's a natural leader after all, and despite being emotionally broken by the Empire's cruelty, he could become a valuable asset to the growing fight. We've already seen glimpses of Cassian's friends coming along for the journey, and I'm inclined to think Cassian would champion Kino being there as well. His absence from the trailer feels intentional. Like, what on earth are they cooking up with this guy? Like, is he being tortured for his big role in the escape? I mean, he wouldn't be able to deny it wasn't him. His voice literally boomed around the entire facility.
There is one way out.
Like, is he going to be used as bait for Cassian and the rebels? The possibilities are endless, but one thing's for sure, whatever Kino's fate is, it's something Lucasfilm doesn't want us to see just yet. And if his return is anything like his last appearance, it's going to be huge. Now let's quickly circle back to these 3-episode blocks. At first I wasn't really on board with the idea. I mean, Andor could have been stretched into a 10-week show, just like Season 1, with a couple of episodes for the premiere and then a weekly rollout. When you really think about it, it kinda makes sense. Since each 3-episode arc covers an entire year, watching them as a binge is exactly how the creators intended you to watch them. It's like a hybrid between the original weekly model, which keeps subscribers hooked, and the Netflix model, which gives them a chunk just to binge all at once. And the runtimes for Season 1 or anything to go by, we're essentially getting 4 Star Wars movies over the course of a month, each covering a pivotal year in the rebellion.
You wanna fight?
That's actually a pretty cool way to tell this story. Now, the hype for Andor is already picking up steam, the trailer's quickly catching up to Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte in terms of views.
What a swell party this is.
And at the time of recording this, it's not even been out for 24 hours. If Disney nails the marketing in the lead up to its April 22nd release, Andor can actually become a major Star Wars event. The kind of thing that floods social media and brings in serious numbers. Something we haven't seen now for a few years.
You're right here, and you're ready to fight!
And before we wrap up, we just have to talk about that trailer song. The Revolution Starts Now by Steve L. has proved to be somewhat divisive amongst fans. Now at first I wasn't really sold on it either, and I'm not totally sure I am right now. This kind of trailer music is way more common in Marvel, which makes sense because, well, Marvel's set on Earth for the most part. Star Wars on the other hand is in a galaxy far, far away, where we've never really heard modern music like this played in-universe before. But here's the thing, we need to remember that it's highly unlikely this song will actually be in the show. Andor's actually bringing back the same composer they had from Season 1, so we can expect a similar style of music played on Season 2. And fun fact, when they shot Season 1, they actually played the music on the set to help the actors get into the moment, so we know just how much thought goes into Andor's score. That being said, this song choice actually makes a lot of sense for the message this trailer's trying to convey. You see, Andor is literally a story about revolution, and this song was originally written as a response to the Bush administration and the Iraq War, which reminds me just how George based Palpatine on Richard Nixon, amongst some other characters in history. But what do you think? Does this kind of music fit Star Wars, even if it's just in trailers for marketing, or does it feel out of place? Let me know your thoughts, theories, and wilder speculations down in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to check out our video on how Season 2 will differ from Season 1. It should be popping up on the screen for you right about now. Now don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming ones. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one, and may the Force be with you.